What's up, Infected, and welcome to the Quarantine. Today we're going to be taking a look at a game that I mispronounced for the longest time by the name of Santorini. Now, Santorini is a game where you're trying to build a city and you're trying to get one of your workers on the highest level of the buildings and claim victory in your god's name. But the way you stop it is by placing a dome on the top of that building so nobody can reach that level. And overall, it's a very family weight style, almost a chess-like game. So let's head over to the overview. Alright, now in the base game of Santorini is incredibly simple. So each player is going to have two workers, and in your turn you're going to move in any direction, so any of the 8 spaces around yours, so including diagonals and orthogonals. So you're going to move there, and then you're going to build a building in any one of the surrounding areas. So the buildings are stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and the final stage. So in this case, maybe I'll place this. Now the next player would do the same thing. So maybe they put one here, and we go ahead and put that second stage on. Now it goes back to white. You can still move either of these, even though this one's already been moved. And you can also move up one level or down any number of levels. So I can't move this from here to here because that's up 2 levels. So maybe I move here and build that there. Then my opponent can move here and maybe toss this up here because you can build any number of levels up. Now it goes back to the white player. So maybe the white player is going to move here to block the area, but then maybe throw this here. And that's all this game is. Your ultimate goal is to try to reach the very top level. But let's say that this is what the board looks like. So white right here is getting ready to win because I'm going to be able to put my worker up here. But it's red's turn. So red can move here and can just cap that building. So obviously the piece cannot fit on there, so you cannot claim victory on that. So now you have to move elsewhere. So maybe I move here and decide I'm going to start a new thing over here or whatever. And as you notice, I'm only moving her, but I could move this one anywhere, as I want as well. So move this here and maybe place this over here. But you have your 2 workers because it gives you flexibility on how you're going to move. So as you can see here, the game starts getting really interesting because you can only move 1 step up or any number of steps down. So this worker here can try to come up here, but has to go all the way around in order to move anywhere in this central location because this worker is blocking that space. So by building these really tall buildings, you're also limiting your own playing field. However, once one person reaches the top, that player is declared the winner. Now the game also comes with god powers that you see here. Now, god powers are a way to mix up the game and add a little bit of superpowers to it. So for example, Hera, if you have the god card Hera, you cannot win on border edges. Or for example here, you could build 2 layers onto the same building. So you can build level 2 and a level 3 if you want to. And just the variety of powers are insane. There's a big stack here that you see. It offers quite a lot of replayability if you choose to use them. However, these are not required. You can just put them back in the box if you don't wish to use them, and you can just play a purely strategy game that is just about outthinking your opponent and outmaneuvering them. Alright, Santorini. Well, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I love Santorini. To be honest, did not expect to enjoy it nearly as much as I did. While at Gen Con I saw people play like giant versions of it that stood like waist tall when you built the whole building. And it looked I thought it was more like a kid's game. I was like, it's for children. But, it was given to me to review. And so I got it home, I played it with my cousin, and neither of us really expected to like it that much. We wound up playing like 24 games that night. Just the vanilla game is a blast. The game looks gorgeous, and it's a very easy strategic game. I mean, you saw there in the overview, that's all there is to the game. It's very basic, very simple. It only takes like 30 seconds to explain. You move you build one level. You can move one level up, one level down, your ultimate, or one level up, any layers down, and your ultimate goal is to reach the top of one of the buildings. That's it. That's how you play the game. And that's if such a simple little game has a surprising amount of depth, because as you start building the full buildings like this, they start blocking off areas. So you can use that as a strategy. You can build rows of just the big buildings, so maybe you lock out one of your opponent's pawns. That gives you more of an advantage because your pawns are on this side. But that leaves them open to be able to do whatever they want on their side and maybe get up to the top. And there's so much going on. And again, the game, if you bring this to a convention, it's going to attract people because the game just looks pretty as well. However, I do like to, talk about the things that some people may not like about the game. And to be honest with you, there's not a lot. There really aren't a lot of flaws with this game. However, the two biggest flaws that we had with the game are, first and foremost, these god cards. A lot of the time, these god cards, we didn't really enjoy it that much. They do add a little bit to the game every once in a while, but I mean, for the most part, they overcomplicate the game, which some people might like. But what appeals to the game to me is it's so deep for such a light little game that takes a couple, not even a minute to explain. And the next thing is, if you're buying this game to play with 3 or 4 people, I wouldn't. Think of Santorini as this is a 2-player game that you can sometimes play with 3 or 4 players. Other than that, you're buying this as a 2-player game. That's it. Now you can play it 3 players and it still plays all right because you have another color of worker that you see here. But 4 players, we definitely did not enjoy it 4 players. And even though I know I mentioned there's 2 big gripes, there's really one minor gripe that I had with the game is fitting it in the box is kind of a pain. So anytime you put it up, you pretty much have to dump everything out, put the island board, the 3D little island, which is totally unnecessary, but totally thanks because it looks beautiful. But you put that in, and then you have to put all the pieces around it and make sure they're flush, and then put the boards on top of it. And then, of course, all the cards and stuff for the gods and all that, they also have to kind of fit in there. So it's kind of a pain to put up, but whatever. I do want to put that out there, though, for anybody who's interested or, maybe is turned off with that. It's not super bad, but it is bad enough to mention that it is sometimes can be a little bit of a pain to put out. So overall, yes, I highly, highly, highly recommend Santorini. This game I did not expect to enjoy nearly as much as I did, if at all, but I was blown away with how simple yet deeply strategic this game can actually be. And then, if you want variety to the game, use the god cards. And with how many there are there's so many of them, you're always going to have a fresh game. The game looks gorgeous. It's so aesthetically pleasing. And apparently Target has a cheaper version that doesn't have the 3D board or something. So if you're worried about a price point, check that one out maybe. But overall, yeah, I highly recommend it. You can play it with kids, you can play it with adults, you can have a deep strategy game, you can have a fun game of building a beautiful city. It's great. Definitely pick it up. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time in the quarantine.